Say you're interested in junk journals and glue books, but you're not quite sure what's the difference between the two. Also, what about glue? What's the best kind of glue or adhesive to use in something like a junk journal or a glue book? That's what I'm talking about in today's video. I'm also going to show you how my mini junk journal turned out. I started it a couple of weeks ago and I've completed the pages and fixed a mistake on the cover that I will tell you more about. So a couple of weeks ago I put out these two videos, junk journals, what's the purpose? And glue books, what's the purpose? And I got so many comments on the two of those videos. They attracted the attention of a lot of people who are new to junk journaling and to glue books. And people had questions about what's the difference between the two and what kinds of glue should I use. So I wanted to take this opportunity now to answer those questions and answer a few others that were in the comments. So first off, what's the difference between a junk journal and a glue book? So here on my desk I have two examples, one of each. The difference is in form and function. So let's talk first about the junk journal. With a junk journal, what I'm focusing on is the creation of the journal itself. I'm working on designing the covers. I'm working on how thick I want it to be, meaning how many pages can fit into it. It is all about the assembly and building the journal itself, never mind about what it's going to be used for. So the function is not set in stone. You can decide how you want to use the junk journal once it's been assembled. Now, a glue book, on the other hand, is all about the function. It's about gluing things onto the pages. And it doesn't really matter where the form came from. It could be that you bought a weekly planner years ago and it's just sitting around your house, you never really used it, and you want to turn that into a glue book by gluing things onto the pages. Is that weekly planner a junk journal? No, it's not. It's a planner, and you're going to be turning it into a glue book by gluing things onto the pages. So some people commented, oh, well, glue books are the same thing as a scrapbook. I used to do that all the time. We called it scrapbooking. This is not quite the same thing. The term scrapbooking and the meaning of scrapbooking means that you are memory keeping. You're taking pieces, you're taking old things that have come through your life that had some meaning to you at some point, whether it's photographs, tickets from old concerts that you went to, things that had meaning to you. You put them into a book or a journal, and they are ways that you keep a memory. That's what scrapbooking is. Glue books, on the other hand, don't necessarily have to have papers in them that have a meaning or that are for memory keeping. You can have a glue book just with papers that are in the same color family, or a glue book just devoted to flowers that you've cut out of magazines, right? Those don't have a connection to your past. You're just gathering and collecting images in a theme to create a glue book. All right, so what about glues? What is the best kind of glue to use for a glue book? So I think the best kinds of glue to use are ones that you already have and that you're comfortable using. The kinds of glues that most people are comfortable using are glue sticks. Glue sticks are great because they're also pretty inexpensive and they're pretty easy to find. Is there a specific brand I recommend? No, not necessarily. The only thing you need to pay attention to is that it says acid-free. So this is glue that I bought at an office supply store. I think it was Office Depot. Scholastic is the brand. I like it. It was very inexpensive and it does a good job. This glue is a very nice one. This is what I use. It's called Yamato. There's a link for it in the description. I like it because it goes on very smoothly and I'm able to adjust the paper just the tiniest bit before it really gets dry. I see a lot of people who like to use this art glitter glue. It's not necessarily just for using with glitter. You can use it with anything, but a lot of people do use it with glitter, so I guess that's why it's called that. It's got a very nice nozzle, so it's very precise for putting, but it's wet glue, so you have to be, of course, careful of not putting too much so that your papers don't warp. I use double-sided tape for thicker papers. Say, for example, I have something like this. It's almost like a cardstock, and I would use double-sided tape on this because it will just stay better onto another layer of paper. This double-sided tape is called score tape. What's really nice about it is that when you put it down, it tears off quite cleanly. So it's pretty easy to use. The size I like is this 1/4 inch. They also make it in a 1/2 inch, 1/8 of an inch. So the 1/4 inch is what works best for smaller collages anyway. Someone had asked if there was a starter kit or a list of supplies that could be used for getting started with collage art. And there's really not, because beside a glue stick and possibly scissors, the most important thing is paper and what kinds of papers that you have. So your substrate, which is the thing that you are gluing your pages into, then some papers that you're going to be using to create some collages, a glue stick, some scissors. After that, there's really not much else. There's double-sided tape if you'd like, and then maybe some small embellishments of other kinds of small papers or stickers that you might use in addition to your papers. Oftentimes, the point is to use what you already have, so get creative with the papers that you can find in your environment. Another person asked, where can you find pattern paper that you can use in glue books and junk journals? For me, I found really nice pattern paper at the Michael's craft store, for example, in those blocks of 6x6 pads, or even 12x12, but I rarely buy those. I do like the 6x6 pads. But then you just keep an eye out for things. There's even napkins that you can remove the layers and use the topmost layer for a pattern. Now, a couple of people had asked about binding, and this is a coil binding that I used with this machine called the Zutter Bind It All. And I had mentioned that I didn't really love the Zutter, and some people wanted to know, well, if I didn't love the Zutter, then what is a good alternative? So I should go back and say, you know what, the Zutter is all right. Because it is fine. It's not a bad tool at all. It binds very well, and the papers hold nicely. Nothing falls out, so that is a good tool to have. This Zutter costs about $65 at the moment in the United States if you buy them at the craft store or on Amazon. How it works is that there is this arm that sits out so that it doesn't tip when you are using it. And here it makes the holes when you go like this, right? So you do this for all of your papers, and then when you have a stack of papers, then you thread the coil in, and then this will press it closed for you. There is another tool called the cinch, and it is also a binding tool. It uses the same coils as the Zutter does. The cinch is a little more expensive. It's closer to $100. It's also a little bit bigger, but it's more stable and you can do more things with it. The Zutter is good if you don't want to keep a larger tool. but the cinch is easier to use and a little bit more versatile. This one I bought at a garage sale and it works perfectly fine for what I need it for. If I was going to choose a binding system and I did not have the Zutter, then I would definitely buy the cinch. All right, now let me show you this junk journal. All right, so here is my final junk journal, how it turned out. I started this junk journal a couple of weeks ago. I will put the link in the description box so that you can go check it out if you want to see how I put it together. I used a long arm stapler to staple in 2 signatures, and I did that instead of sewing. And I really like that technique because then you're able to just cover up the staples on the spine and it doesn't even show. And it holds in the pages extremely well, right? Doesn't shift at all. So go check that out if you want to see how I did that. What I did is, here's the title page. I used some ATCs. Now, an ATC, if you don't know, stands for Artist Trade Cards. They are the same size as a playing card. They are 2.5 inches wide by 3.5 inches long. And you create a piece of art and you can exchange it with other artists. And it doesn't have to be collage art, it can be any kind of art, right? And there's groups on Facebook, there's groups that are dedicated entirely to exchanging ATCs. So I created a master board, and then from the master board I cut down these ATCs. If you don't know what a master board is and you're curious, let me know in the comments. Maybe I will do another what's the purpose of a master board to show you all the great pieces of art you can do with a master board. So that's what I did. ATCs from a master board. That's what I'm calling this junk journal because that's kind of the theme, I guess, for the whole thing. So I actually created a little title page. I love this stamp. This is from 100 Proof Press. It's just a door plate with a doorknob. But I think it kind of went, well, particularly because I chose, you know, a good color. This is elderberry, a good color for this title page. But what I also want to do is I have this rubber stamp here made by, and I was thinking of putting it either at the top or at the bottom. But since this is already done, I'm afraid that if I try and rubber stamp this, it's not going to stamp evenly and it's going to be ugly. So I had the idea that I would rubber stamp a tea bag. Let me see how that goes. And if it looks good, then I will tear it out and so I was thinking that I could put it either down here or at the top. Let me show you the rest of the journal and then I will decide what to do. So in the front, I just have this little envelope, a glassine envelope with some postage stamps in it. There's my first ATC. At the top and the bottom, I just kind of decorated, added a little bit of interest with some text from a book page. This is a little cluster I made and then did a couple of rubber stampings. This is what I meant by, you know, sometimes they don't come in clearly if you're not stamping on a completely flat surface. So I wanted to avoid that. This is Florentine paper and I will put the link in the description box. A lot of people ask me, where did you get this paper? I did get it online and it is made in Italy and it's from a vendor in the United States. So I will put the link to that. Another ATC. This is just a little flip out. I have a lot of old bank checks and receipts, and I love to use them just in collage. So I love to have those old elements where you can see a date and see the different types of handwriting. That's always interesting to me. Another ATC. This is a pocket, and this is just some kind of vintage coupon. I don't even know what it's for, but it's a nice color. I like the color added in here. And this is just something for a pocket. Another ATC, some stamps, some vintage stamps. ATC, just an illustration of Abe Lincoln's governor's mansion. Another piece of check. It's a cluster, and then I put a rubber stamping at the base. Here's another check, Union Bank of Canada. I like this because it's done on craft paper. And then there are these very interesting stamps on here, paid and this, I don't know, receipt stamps. This blue circle kind of goes with the blue on here, so that's why I chose to put these here together. Another ATC. Now this was interesting. I tore out this old book page of this book of poetry, and I was just going to glue it on here, but then I read the poem on both sides, and it was so nice. So I thought, you know what, I want to keep that. So I created this hinge out of old paper that's just folded a bunch of times back and forth, and then I double-sided taped it onto the other page so that I can flip it over like this. And I used double-sided tape, this 1/4 inch tape on here, so that it sits very nicely and there's good coverage. And then over here, I just have another receipt with this trade card. I have a bunch of these Arm & Hammer brand old trade cards. They're really beautiful, vintage, and I've been looking for ways to use them. Some of them are kind of gross, but they're just fabulous. I love these. So I'm always looking for interesting ways that I can incorporate these, pieces into a junk journal or to a glue book. Another ATC, a photograph. If I know where this is from, I will usually write the town or the city. Here's another one of those trade cards. I liked how the blues and the yellows mixed with this Florentine paper. There's another cluster. This is just another little fold out. Another ATC. I need to put something here. I was going to put this playing card, but I think it's the wrong color scheme. I have not introduced this color in the whole thing, so I'm going to do something else. I will figure out something else for this page. It's another bank check. I love these. You can see the date, 1912. Knickerbocker Trust Company. It's a strange name. Another photograph. ATC. Trade card. Cluster. This is something that I had tea-dyed, this piece of dictionary page, and then I included another one of these dies that kind of is in the same family as these two. Another ATC. And then the last is this trade card. Now, I did want to mention for the cover, when I showed this one a couple of weeks ago that I was starting it, two people pointed out to me that I had put the text upside down for this. It was the wrong way around. This is Japanese text. So they pointed it out, and I was like, thank you very much. I'm glad to know. So I tried to peel it off and replace it, but it didn't peel off, so that's okay. I was just able to get another piece of text, a different piece, and then just glue it on top of that in the right direction. So that is now correct, and I feel good about that. Now for this cover, let me see, or this title page, let me tear this off. I can put it down here, or I can put it up here. I think I'm going to put it up top. I can also put it on the last page down here. Is that better? Ugh, I wish I would have thought of this ahead of time, and then I would have switched the title up here and put this at the bottom, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay, I'm just going to put that up there. So I'm just using glue stick and placing it up here very carefully. See, how cool is that? This was just a tea bag. I had black tea this morning, or actually a couple days ago, because I set them outside in the sun and they dry out really nicely. Okay, that's it. So that is my teeny tiny little junk journal. So I hope this has cleared up any confusion you may have had regarding glue books and junk journals. If you have any questions, please do let me know in the comments. If you're looking for some ways to organize your papers for using in collage art, then check out this video here. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you the next time.